Hello, tune in listeners, and hello to tune in viewers. You are listening to or perhaps watching our conversation here on TuneIn. It's radio for your mind, body, and soul. And I'm your host, Kealah Parkinson. And we're talking, as we do every week, all about mindfulness and so many different ways that it shows up for us. And today we're going to be talking about, wouldn't you know it, another really interesting kind of woo perspective about the soul and our life journey and our purpose, and also how we can take traumas and become helpful healers to other people. And I think so much more than that with our amazing guest, who is herself a doctor of spiritual science, which I did not know was a thing. And I'm really intrigued to learn more. Please help me welcome to the show, Dr. Katja Rusanen. Dr. Katja, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure and honor, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I am too. I love talking to you. I've had the pleasure and opportunity to do so at other times, and I can't wait for us to do this now with our guests, with our audience, and be able to talk about some of the things that come up. And I said this before we started recording, but I'm going to say it again. I just want to thank you in advance for sharing your life story with us and for being somebody who's brave enough to sort of set the tone on being, a human being who has taken really difficult life circumstances and gotten great lessons from them and become someone who can be such a helper to other people. And thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thank you so much, and for giving me this opportunity. And I do hope that my story, my journey, will be a spark of light for somebody else here now, and like that they get the inspiration to keep going, because it's possible to find the joy of living again.
Oh, I love that. It is possible to find the joy of living again. I had a dark night of the soul yesterday from just being too busy. So
Oh
there's going to
no.
have to be a trauma that sets us off, right? Like, I mean, I just want to say it could be so many things that can really get us going, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this anymore, right?
Absolutely, because it doesn't, there is the trauma with the big T and the trauma
Right.
with the small t, and there are just challenging moments because we are here in the Earth School and
Yes.
the school is in session often when things happen.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes, Earth School is in session. I'm writing that down because that's what's happening right now. That might actually be what I title our conversation. All right. So all right, so we know what we're talking about, but the audience doesn't yet know what we're talking about. So I would like for you, first of all, to tell us, I think it's important to talk about kind of like what has gotten you where you are, and then we'll talk about exactly what a doctorate of spiritual science is, and how you have taken this actually internationally, which is amazing. So will you just sort of tell us whatever you think is important for us to know about what got you on this journey?
So I love helping people to thrive after trauma.
Mm.
And how I got to do this work that I do now started when I was just 16 years old. So I take you back to Finland. That's where I come from. That's where this accent is from. So taking you back to the small village in countryside where I was growing up. And at the age of 16, I fell in love for the first time. And as you might remember from your own journey, the feeling like first love, all of a sudden the world is so much more beautiful. And there is these butterflies in your belly when you just connect with your special chosen person. And that was my experience too. But unfortunately, my love story did not have the happily ever after. It ended very suddenly when my mom told me the news that my boyfriend had died by suicide.
Mm. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And that moment was a feeling like I almost died as well that very moment.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like the future just lost its meaning.
Yeah.
And the grief and the overwhelm was really intense. And I started asking this question, why? Like, it was like, why? Why did this happen? Why didn't I see it coming?
Mm.
And I was going through every detail, every word that I could remember, looking for signs.
Yeah.
And as I'm intuitive and was already that age,
Mm.
I felt that I should have seen it. I should have somehow saved him.
Like you should have had a prediction that it was coming, and no.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to do something,
Mm-hmm.
being able to save that things would have shifted. And then I started taking it inside me, like if I would have done more, been more attractive, more attentive, this wouldn't have happened. So I took on the guilt. And that guilt was super, super heavy. And I almost followed his footsteps. But luckily, there was this gift of grace on the 11th hour
Mm-hmm.
that made me choose life because I was reconnected with the loving. And I had this experience when there was this spark of light coming through and reminding of the love that my parents had for me. And that was a turning point for me. I turned back and I chose life. And it started my healing journey. And then later on the journey, I found some keys, and I can talk that more. But like I found some keys and that I want now to share with others so that they can also make peace with the past. Because that why question haunted me for years. Because when suicide happens, it often leaves the people behind wondering, and that's why we are called survivors of suicide, because it is truly seeking those answers, seeking how can I make peace with the situation, with myself, and the actions or non-actions that I took. I had so many feel hopes that I would have said something different. I would have been with him, like all these things. How can I make peace with all those things? And it's possible. I have found a way, and that really is something I want to now share with people too.
That point you made about the actions and the non-actions, that's part of the playback, right? For any of us who have been survivors of someone else's suicide, there is that, like, what could I have done? What should I not have done? What else was there, right? Why didn't I know? Why didn't they say something? What was I misinterpreting when they were trying to say, right? There are so many questions that come up. I'm sure you've asked all of them in your head multiple times. And I can also just imagine that it looked maybe a little different at 16 versus 23 versus 33, right? Like as you got a different perspective throughout this. But we know with the big T trauma, which this, of course, is in that category, that, and I'll say to listeners something, if you don't know big T and little t trauma, just go look that up because the internet will explain it to you. But with that big T trauma, such as this, we go back to the moment and we sort of stay in the mindset that we were. So I can imagine you might have had different thoughts about it as you aged, but your lived experience of it, no matter how old you were, stayed as that 16-year-old girl. Is that accurate or not?
It is, because what happened afterwards, I had challenged to get through that overwhelm of grief. So after a while, of course, in the beginning, people are very compassionate and supportive, but after a while, they feel like I actually received these messages like, aren't you over that yet? It was just a
I bet.
crush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
And then what you learn to do, oh, at least I did, was to put the smiling mask on and say, yes, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't. I totally wasn't, but I learned to just say, yeah, I'm okay. And I was trying to store all those emotions to a storage unit and
Mhm.
lock the door.
Yeah.
But that did not go too well. Like, I don't know if anybody has found a way to do it, but for me, it
Right.
did not work. It was like that, like trying to push a beach ball underwater, and it always keeps bouncing back
Over and over.
up.
Yeah.
And that was my experience. And it was really finding a ways then how to actually let the air out. But in the first 15 years, I stored that memory into a storage unit where I was like, never go there again.
Yeah.
It was too painful. And I kind of skipped that chapter when I met new people.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to talk about it. I just pretended it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really a question that I heard from a palm reader 15 years later that started a next part of my healing journey, because he said many accurate things. And then he asked me, why don't you write?
Ooh, okay.
And that
That was
stirred
like the key
something.
to unlock the storage unit, right?
Yeah, that stirred something within me because I was like, how does he know that I have a story to tell?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like just so surprised about that. So I happened to promise him that I will start writing.
Okay.
Okay, I start writing.
And then I love that you were like, I have to make good on this promise I made to a stranger. I was reading my palm. Yeah, that's wonderful.
I felt that he knows
Right.
that
He'll
the
do for you
story.
now. That's great.
So I promised and I kept my promise. That night I went home and I started writing what later on became my first novel.
Mm,
And it was so healing as well, because I decided to make it a novel
mm,
that it was a choice that gave me perspective.
mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I started seeing things in a new light. And of course, there was many tears that
Mm,
I cried
sure.
as I went through the events. But it brought me this understanding that life didn't happen to me, it happened for me.
Ooh, that's a great quote too. You may be wondering, I'm writing some things down as you're talking about this. We'll go into our show notes too. And I love what you just said, that life didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And I think I know what your answer is going to be to this, but I'm going to ask the question for our listeners and viewers. Do you think that's true for you, or do you think that's true for most people, or some other answer?
It depends.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I love
And it in eventually I believe it's true,
it. Hmm.
but it depends a little bit where you are on the journey. Can you see it?
Can you see it? Yeah. Maybe it is happening for you, but can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah, because for me it took a little while
Yeah.
because I was definitely a
That's half a life
victim.
then right there, right? I mean, like based on, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was totally a victim of life. Like I felt life happened to me. If this wouldn't have happened, I would have been so happy. So now my life was kind of ruined
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to live.
Mm-hmm.
So then starting to see the learning that came through this experience, through this journey, and how wonderfully everything was orchestrated. Like these random people coming to ask out of nowhere, like these earth angels asking, hey, are you okay? The moment when I was feeling really, really bad, or just having a message, a song coming to play and giving that little glimpse of light when I need it. I had a dog who became one of the greatest teacher of unconditional loving.
Yeah.
And all these kind of little things that how I saw like how much life supported me, even though if you would have asked me then, I didn't see those things.
Right. I think that that is how much life supported me. That whole concept right there, right? That's it is a measure of perspective. And yet, when we take that perspective, it's hard not to see it, right? But I know that it's really easy. And again, this is I'm going back to just my yesterday of feeling just like I don't want to do it anymore. Give me a break, get me out of here. Like I didn't act on any thoughts, right? I want to say I'm old enough, I've been through this long, many, enough years to say, like, all right, just don't act on anything, let it pass, be crazy in your head, right? Like that's me talking to myself, not how I feel about everybody else. But like, it's gonna be okay. And I wound up using kind of a metaphor of like it's gray right now. It's winter where I am. It's the end of winter where I am, and that is difficult, challenging, seems like it will never end, right? And you clearly know a lot about that being from Finland, and so like,
Oh,
right,
yes.
months. And I just I use this metaphor of like the skies are gray, but the sun does come back, right? And I kind of just had to let my feelings be the gray skies, knowing that the sun does come back. And I have to say, my loving universe, right? Like whatever you believe that you want to call this, gave me so many wonderful messages of hope and inspiration and peace and love and joy and people like reaching out to me. And I just didn't want to hear it yesterday. I just didn't want to hear it. I was like, boo, though. I want to do something fun and different. I wanted to travel and it's not going to happen. And I was like, bleh. I was just not too busy, sick of it, need a break. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, hey, you know what? I can work from my bed this morning. And that is novel enough and soothing enough to my body. Let this be the reset, right? And so, because it was a small thing happening, not a big deal, it took just a small thing to shift the state, right? I only share this again because I want to give both perspectives here for people. We can use this and we can say the universe is for me, right? Even if it's just like, but I wanted to go on vacation, like but I don't get to, like listeners, you're listening to our conversation with Dr. Katja Rusanen on TuneIn. It's radio for your mind, body, and soul. I'm your host, Kealah Parkinson, and our show broadcasts on WVLP 103.1 FM. Season 6 of our show is underwritten by Kiki Productions, Inc., Communications Coaching, teaching exercises to help you cycle out of fight or flight in the moment. With a mission to create individual harmony to add peace to the world, Kiki Productions, Inc.'s philosophy is, when you are confident, focused, and authentic with your message, you are a magnet to those you wish to attract. Find out how you can speak your truth with love at CoachKiki.com or connect with Coach Kiki on Substack for custom inbox goodies for all your human feelings. We're talking about the dark feelings right now with Dr. Katja. And we have said that she has a doctorate in spiritual science. And spiritual science, that may feel like an oxymoronic phrase to you, right? But obviously, this early experience in your formative years, right? I just, again, going back to this neuroscience of brain development, right? This is when our brains are developing their prefrontal cortex in the teenage years. And our brains learn from a negativity bias. And so an experience like that at 16 is going to be a deep imprint on a brain. And it's so interesting to think like that's something we know. And we also have read Romeo and Juliet, right? It would be so easy for you to follow suit. As you said, you contemplated at the time. Everyone knows how much we feel and how reactive and responsive and impulsive we can be as teenagers. And of course, it's not surprising that there were some adults in your life who said, just get over it already, right? And there's a contrast there that I sort of want to point out, that it becomes very easy to get stuck in this mindset of like, right, shaming myself, right? Like I should listen to that voice because that's the one that's being loud. It's the one that is negative. It's the one that confirms my own, difficult thoughts about myself, right? And so again, it's such a miracle that you felt the love and the peace come through and did not take any action, right? And then you already shared with us, I'm just recapping for anyone who might be tuning in late, right? That then you met this palm reader 15 years later who said, share your story and why aren't you writing? And you took it very seriously and wrote initially a fictional novel, which we'll share links to that too if you'd like us to for the show notes for listeners and viewers. And then you said, okay, now I've done that. And what came next?
Yeah, because that journey of writing that novel was very much healing. And as I was writing that, I realized the deeper calling that I had. I realized that our story, our journey, when we share it from the point of learning, we see the lesson and the growth. And when we share it from that point of view, that can be very inspiring for others. Like I realized that one of my biggest learnings have been learning to love again, learning to love myself, life, others again.
Yeah.
And that was something that I then started, okay, actually, I want to share. So imagine this 15 years not sharing with anybody,
Wow.
then writing a novel.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it was very heavy to write the novel. So I was writing some articles as well, practicing my writing skills. And I happened to send it, that time I lived in Barcelona, Spain. I was sending it to two magazines, and one of them got back to me, a local magazines, and said, yeah, we want to publish this. Come to visit the office.
Mm,
And I went there, and within the 5 minutes of conversation, this lady was saying, what else are you writing on? And
okay.
when I shared about the novel,
Mhm.
she said, like, without knowing me before, I can help you with that.
Oh,
So, and nowadays, she's one of my very best friends and my editor.
okay.
And that support that came forward was like something I needed that moment. Because, of course, I'm non-native English speaker. I write in English. That's my creative language.
Mm.
So then there was this gift of heaven coming through, like, hey, I can help
Yes, right.
you.
Oh my gosh, in English. And that's a really good point because I think you're still in Spain, correct?
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
right. And so, why English? Why has that become your creative language? That's an interesting thing right there.
It always has been like I think universe always prepared me for this
Mm.
journey. And why not my own language? Like I come from Finland. There is 5 million people, 5.5 million people who speak Finnish. So I think I am prepared to share more
A bigger,
openly.
yeah,
Yeah,
bigger
bigger
audience.
way.
Let's go with the biggest language in the globe, right? Yeah, I love it.
And I started already when I was 15, 16, when I started reading books in English, always the original language. I did not want to read the
Huh.
translations. So I started learning already that age. And I was like, that's actually really fascinating now when I
Fascinating.
look
Yeah,
back.
back. Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I wonder what sparked that interest then. Was it just a love of words and language?
I still don't know. I just started reading books
Yeah.
in English. So that
Guessing
was
you're
just
also fluent in Spanish, no?
I do speak
Yeah.
Spanish. It's not the level, same level than my English
Okay.
is, and I just happen to have this love for English.
Great.
So,
Yes.
and it is the creative flow. Maybe it's easier for me to express some things in English language. Because, for example, I love you is so much easier to say in English. Because in
Versus,
Finnish, do
yeah,
you want to hear
yes, I
how it
do,
sounds?
for sure.
It's a mouthful. That's
Hey.
why we don't say it a lot.
Oh,
It is Minä rakastan sinua.
yes, that has a lot of complicated sounds.
So much easier to say I love
Very
you.
often. It's too much effort. Yeah. So that and that also I feel like that's so Finnish right there, right? Just like, oh, that's too hard to say.
Totally. And it is like expressing certain things. Of course, we have some things we say in Finnish and sometimes they translate, sometimes they don't.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why I have an editor helping me out.
Right. Yes.
But there is some certain flow on the expression that I like in English language.
Yeah.
And yeah, now I share my message in English and really looking forward to support people on their journey because I feel like I'm a messenger for hope and I know how dark that dark night of the soul can be,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know the power of light.
Mm.
And I know that if there is a room where is a door in the middle and there is another room that is full of light, another that is full of darkness, and you open that door in the middle, it is the light that goes into the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But often we fear that it's the other way around. but it's not so.
Powerful. Yeah, I love that. That's such a good visual imagery too. I love that so much. And I went to write, I'm still writing down all the things you were saying. The dark night of the soul. The power of the dark night of the soul, but yeah, but the power of the light, that's such a fascinating thing. And I love that metaphor you're giving us too. So all right, let's talk about this concept, and then we're going to take a quick station break again. Actually, just let me really quickly just say to listeners, you're listening to WVLP 103.1 FM. We're talking to Dr. Katja Rusanen, and we're talking about this concept of finding our path again and certain keys that she's discovered to help us kind of unlock the emotional storage box, right? And like let out the dark secrets and find the light of hope again. And so this concept of Doctorate of Spiritual Science, what is it? Where does it come into the journey? How did you get it?
So it started as I wanted to, after starting writing my book, I really felt the calling to take a step forward on the work that I feel called to do in the world. So first step back then, I was working as a supervisor in one of the world's leading business banks, completely different, different career path. And I started studying in the Holistic Healing College in London to become a spiritual life coach.
Hey.
Even though I often skipped the saying the spiritual when I worked in bank, I just said life coach.
Right,
and even
for sure, I bet.
Even that was too much for many. They were like,
Oh,
what in the
I
earth?
bet they were like, that's not a real thing. Yeah. Where are the numbers in it though?
But I really, really felt called to do that. And even so much that there came a point when my body was saying, you need to step out from this banking, even though a lot of people said, don't do it. It's a really good career path. But I needed to jump out. And I started my coaching and counseling business. And yes, I just made that leap of faith and said, Universe, send me clients. Who can I help? Well, it didn't go that way. It started again as I believe entrepreneurship is a spiritual practice as well. We learn a lot. And while I was doing that, I got my certification in the spiritual life coaching, but then I felt like I want to help people with big T trauma, so I need more. I was like, I need something going even deeper. So then I happened to find through Google search uh, a spiritual psychology master's degree that was at the University of Santa Monica in California.
And was that a brand new program at the time?
No, that had been there years and years, but
Oh,
I
okay.
just felt like I need to jump in.
Yeah.
Now they don't do that in that format anymore. So I
Okay.
was in the last class to get the
Oh, that's
master's
interesting.
degree.
Okay. They must have kind of like evolved what they did pretty recently because, yeah, I think that's so fascinating. Okay.
So so I moved to California to
Wow.
study. I
Yeah.
left Barcelona behind. I was like, I got to go here.
Mhm.
And once I was there in this very loving community, very much feeling this is exactly where I need to be. Like, you know, that feeling
Mm.
when you're like, oh, thank goodness I listened to my intuition.
Yeah. How cool.
And that then led me to, after I completed one master's, why not to do another one? So
That's great.
So I continued the path to study then spiritual science. It was another school that was Peace Theological Seminary and College of Philosophy, which was
Okay.
connected to the University of Santa Monica. And I studied their master's first, but when I signed up for that, I knew I'm gonna go for the doctorate.
Okay.
But that doctorate, after 2 years of master's, it was another 5 years of
Wow.
studies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
altogether, like I had one sabbatical year between, but altogether I studied 9 years.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that has been a long, long journey. But the spiritual science, it's really seeing us as multidimensional human beings.
Mm.
You learn to observe your thoughts, your emotions, your actions or non-actions, and having then this spiritual aspect there, what I call like, what am I learning through all this as
Mhm.
a soul, having the human
Yeah.
experience? And we learn to track this. So that's the science part.
Mm.
And the spiritual part is really connecting us to that, what I call higher wisdom, our soul's wisdom, because it is seeing our life through the eyes of a soul. And I believe that's the learning perspective. What are we learning here in the Earth School?
I feel like we could have a whole other conversation in another episode, really diving into like what is homework like for this, right? Like
Yes.
fascinating to me. So you have to come back and tell us
Oh,
all
I'd
about
love
this
to.
piece. Yeah, it's so fascinating to me. I just find that amazing because the interesting and kind of ironic thing, right, is that you're going in to get this degree and it's a very cerebral perspective on the soul, right? It's like we're going to look at the science of it and like how do we quantify something that can't be measured or located, right? Like that's just amazing. I love all of that. So we will nerd out about that some more, Katja. Totally.
Love it.
But in the meantime, so this is what you did. You pursued this, and now you have this doctorate of spiritual science. And congratulations, because 9 years.
Thank
Phew,
you.
yeah, that's amazing dedication. And so, what do you do with a degree like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I use it, of course, it was very healing journey for me,
yeah,
but that's also a very helpful way how I can help my clients, how I can enable them to see their life from soul's perspective.
mm-hmm.
And I actually, as we needed to, of course, for doctorate, you need to write your thesis, and we
Yes.
call it practical treatise. So I used it as testing certain methods.
Mm-hmm.
I found 5 methods that worked for me. And that's then, of course, having a test group that went through the same methods and it worked for them too. So now I have put it, because sometimes things work for you, maybe they don't work for a bigger group. So that's the science part again. We are testing, we are checking, we are measuring. Is it really like proven system that I'm developing? So then I wrote now the whole system. I call it soul success method because it helps us to see the the lessons we have learned. And I I put it in the book because again I wanted to share it with people. And I call my book Your Spiritual Curriculum because you will discover the lessons you have learned or what you are learning. And that thing, when you discover the lesson, your whole perspective shifts with your past. At least that happened for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started to see my life from different light. When
Mm-hmm.
I discovered the lesson, it just tapped me into the gratitude. And there came that peace that I had been seeking. I realized and received the answers to my question why that had haunted me so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I was like able to be in peace.
That's so amazing. There's so much you shared with us just in that whole piece right there. I want to say to listeners who might be like, wait a second, this isn't the fiction book she's talking about, right? We have
No,
we haven't even let you know that Katja has just released this amazing book called Your Spiritual Curriculum, and it's subtitled 5 Steps to Make Peace with Your Past and Transform Your Future. And so this is the spiritual curriculum she's talking to us about, right? This soul success method, amazing, beautiful. So it's been tested, right, in thesis and in practice in this way. You've been sharing it with clients, and so you've got even more data backing up what you already were like studying and learning. And then, of course, it's been something that has helped you. And so I love what you've just shared with us. This is so beautiful. And I quickly want to give you an opportunity to tell people, where they can get to your website and learn more about the book. And we're also going to have all the show links, there for you as well at the podcast version. If you're hearing this on WVLP, know that you can always go to the Tune In Radio for Your Mind, Body, and Soul podcast or a Facebook fan page. And so, where's your website?
So my website is katjarusanen.com, KatjaRusanen.com. And hopefully you put that on the show notes
Yes,
because
for sure.
it's a name from Finland, not the easiest one to spell,
I can spell it.
but
It's really close to mine. Yeah.
and then of course my book is now available from Amazon, so you can get it there. And I just recommend you to check it out, especially if you know that there has been something in the past you haven't yet fully made peace with. And wherever you are on that journey, just know it's okay. It took me, as I mentioned, 15 years before I was even able to open the door to that storage unit and
Yes,
even
right.
starting to work through these things. But I also know that it's possible. And this book is just supporting you on that journey. So it's giving you very practical steps what you can do. And those steps are something that, of course, it is your choice. Do what works for you. But I know that these steps are supporting you to gain greater awareness.
Mm,
Because when we have the greater awareness, then we can have more choice in our life.
of
And
course.
that is a step forward towards that greater inner peace and emotional freedom.
And that's what we're all seeking, right? Like we all want that. I think we want autonomy. We want that novelty, right? We want to be able to say like I'm on my path, and I think we want to feel like we have a purpose, right? And of course, then we want to look back at any wounds or discomforts even that we've suffered and say there's a purpose to that too. And I think what you're talking about is different from this concept of spiritual bypassing where we just go, oh, put on the mask like you did before, right? Like that's a different level. This is about excavating the work and finding the real gifts within and using them as keys. And I have to say, first of all, too, the book has a beautiful cover. It's very attractive. It's gorgeous. And you put a lot of work into thinking about that. It's so gorgeous. Yes. And then I've got a question about the content. So, are these linear steps? Are they steps that we take in order? How much do you want to share one or two of the steps with us too? Yeah.
Yeah, it is often what I recommend. Of course, everyone do it however it works for you. But for me, it works as a process, like one step after another,
Mm-hmm.
because they are specific in a way, because we need to first release. We need to first just take a moment to breathe. Like that's the starting step.
Yeah.
Like just tune in, pause for a moment, and breathe. So that sounds like, that's simple.
It always does, doesn't it? But it's like, oh, it's such
Because
a great reset. Yeah. I have to say too, like every time I get that, oh, just take a breath. If it's a commercial, there's some commercial that's out right now on a lot of podcasts that I listen to where they're like, oh, take a breath, and it's gonna sell me something in a second. But I take that breath every time. I'm like, yes, I will. Thank you very much for the reminder. So thank you.
but I resisted that for years because I was
Oh yeah.
exactly thinking this is
Yeah.
so silly. This is so
Yeah.
easy. I'm breathing anyway.
Everyone
Why
can,
do I need
yeah.
to be conscious about
Right.
it? Until I discovered the benefits.
Mm,
Oh, what happens when you actually breathe? Because so often we are busy, we are actually breathing very shallow. If you have gone through grief or trauma, it really focuses on your lungs. That's
mm,
and that's even stated in Chinese medicine.
right.
So it focuses on the lungs. What we do, we breathe shallow. Our body feels that it's alert, alert. There is not enough oxygen.
Mm,
So when we just take a couple of deep breaths, we are just opening up
mm,
and we start having that safer place where we can do the rest of the steps. And
mhm.
maybe I share the next step there is working with forgiveness.
Mm.
And I
That's simple
use
too. Just kidding.
it. Oh, my goodness, another one that I
I
was
know.
sweating a lot.
Like, oh boy. Let's go back to breathing.
Yeah. Okay, I need to breathe again, and you can totally do
Deep
that.
breathing. Yeah.
Let me go back to step one.
Mhm.
Because
Over and over.
the forgiveness, I learned this from the University of Santa Monica. They did it in this very specific way. Because before I tried, and I couldn't forgive.
Yeah.
It just
Forget.
was that
It's
shallow bypass. Oh,
fine.
I forgive. And
Yeah.
I didn't feel the relief within.
Mm-hmm.
It was still painful. The hurt was there. It didn't work. Like that was my judgment before. Like this doesn't work.
Yeah.
What are these people talking about?
Yeah.
The gift of forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I realized that let's start small.
Mm.
Okay, if there is something you can forgive, and
Mm.
listen to this, it was more about forgiving the judgments.
Ooh.
So I forgive myself for judging myself, others, the situation, God, whatever you want as, and what the judgment is. I forgive myself, judging myself as not good enough.
Ooh. Okay.
So, whoa, that was for me like, okay, this one I can do.
Yeah.
This
Okay, that
one makes
seems like
sense.
great stuff and like so freeing. Like, oh, I'm a little lighter. And then, ooh, that really speaks to me. I love it.
And that's you keep going then.
Mhm.
It is really opening up because sometimes we need to clear the path first. Because if we want to seek the lesson we have learned, and if we have that inner turmoil, if we have all the judgments, they are blinding us. We can't see because we are just focusing on the suffering and we can't see what comes after. And I totally did that.
Mhm.
So, so I know how that feels. We are focused on the suffering
Yeah.
and we miss the beauty that comes after. We miss the growth.
Yeah.
So when we start clearing the path through the compassionate self-forgiveness,
Mm.
we open up the door. And even just checking it out, and I would invite you to test it out. I forgive myself,
Mm.
judging myself as, and whatever that judgment is, start whatever comes to your mind. You might repeat it a few times and just check it out. Test it if it works for you.
Yeah. That's a great invitation. I appreciate that so much. And I hope listeners will take you up on that invitation to just test it out, see if it works for you. Like that's something we can practice this coming week, right? Just test it out, see if it works
Yeah.
for you. Can I catch myself judging? Maybe I shame myself with it. And then I go, oh, you know what? How does it feel if I forgive myself for doing that just now? I bet that's going to feel great. I hope it does for you, listeners. You are listening to us in our conversation with Dr. Katja Rusanen, who is a doctor of spiritual science from the University of Santa Monica. And she's an international traveler and writer. And she has just written this amazing book, Your Spiritual Curriculum, which is available now on Amazon. And this is WVLP 103.1 FM. I'm Kealah Parkinson, your host of Tune In, and Tune In is underwritten by Coach Kiki, author of the newly released title, My Moody Daybook. Hey, there it is behind me. A season of mood tools for people with feelings. This daily devotional covers topics on all your human feelings, taking the hot topic of emotional intelligence to the next level of personal application. Called by some a field guide to human feelings and the book you'll want on your nightstand. It is available now on shelves and online at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and more, including an ebook format. Search My Moody Daybook to discover your own relationship with your human feelings. We've been talking about those deep and heavy feelings, and we've been talking about how this wonderful metaphor that Dr. Katja has given us about the darkness, right, and the door in the middle, and that if you open both doors, only the light gets absorbed into that door in the middle. And it's such a good example of the power of light, right, and the power of positive thinking and all of that. And when we truly embrace doing the work to excavate by breathing, by forgiving, by just forgiving ourselves of our judgments, perhaps, right? And then these three extra keys that I think you're going to need to get the book to learn about. These really amazing concepts, these steps that are part of our spiritual curriculum that you've discovered, that we all can discover, that I think are probably pretty universally applicable. But like you said, it depends on where you are on the journey. So that's also, I'm guessing, part of something we can forgive ourselves for if we feel like I don't get it.
I should be better ahead. Like,
Which is not that evolved, right? So the irony there. Yeah. So at your website, then people can also learn more about your life coaching and how you bring all this great information in this way. And I just wanted to say, like, is there anything else we have about 10 10, 12 minutes here to talk. And so I want to say, is there anything we haven't talked about this book that you really want to make sure that listeners and viewers know?
Just want to mention that your past does not need to equal your future.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Because sometimes when we have gone through challenging times, it just feels that never-ending story, always the same. But I believe it's possible to thrive
Mm,
when we find those keys, when we find those lessons, and that's what I share in the book, how you can do it, but then finding a way how you can rewrite the story you are telling yourself. We can't change the past, but we can change the story we are telling, and that changes everything.
that changes everything. And, and I love too that we don't all have to be writers fluent in multiple languages to write our own stories, right? I mean, you're really an overachiever and it's amazing, right? We're not going to go to 9 years of school to learn about our souls, but we can get this book and we can really begin our journey, which is
Exactly.
so beautiful. And I think that's one thing that's amazing too, is we don't all have to go to 9 years of school and learn how to write and be published on multiple continents, right? Because you're doing it for us and you're sharing. And that's just one more thing that you're sharing with us, right? You've gotten great lessons from the early difficult experiences. The first thing you did was not replicate the same mistake, right? And also grief and sorrow and compassion and love and joy to your late boyfriend and his family and all of the people who suffer still as survivors of his loss on the planet, right? And I just want to say that and acknowledge that, because we're not making light of that deep experience. We're just really
Yeah,
grateful that you got a big lesson from this and continue to share in this beautiful way.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I just want to extend that to anyone who is going through loss or grief or challenging times in general. Like that moment that you hopefully got from here is the spark of light that you can find a way through.
Mm,
And sometimes it is supportive to find someone that can help you. Because I definitely thought that I need to do things on my own.
mm,
I didn't deserve support. And then there came a point when I was really on my knees and I was like praying for
mm,
support. I needed to surrender. And that shift that happened within, opening that door to receive support,
mm.
was so helpful on our journey. We don't need to do this journey alone.
Yeah.
So, wherever you are on your healing journey, just know that there are people who can support you. You are the one who needs to take the steps forward. Nobody can do the journey for you, but you can have support. There can be way showers who are just putting some lights on that path for you so it's easier to walk. You don't stumble that many times because there is somebody holding a lantern and you can see, there is the stumbling block. Okay, I can step on it, and that becomes a stepping stone. So just I'm such an advocate now for support because I tried to do it on my own. I thought that's the way, but then realized that we are here together and we can support each others on our way home.
It's so nice. And it feels, just talking to you and hearing you say those things, it feels good in my body. And I just want to say, like, that's a tell, right? That's one thing right there. It feels peaceful. It feels like something I trust. And I love that. And whatever people, I know a lot of us right now are sort of like very red flag to love bombing, right? Because of all the things that are out right now about narcissism and how this operates. And so I always say on the show at some point, I think I say it almost every single episode, bring your critical thinking, never lose that, and bring your curiosity to these conversations that we have here on TuneIn with these amazing guests who teach us these really insightful things like Dr. Katja is teaching us today. I trust that it feels really good in my body. It doesn't feel like dopamine overload, right? It feels good and peaceful. I want to say that. I want to point that out
Yeah,
because that's part of beginning trusting our intuition in some ways, right? Yeah.
that truly is. And it's always, you can check it out. check it out. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, there is another way. There is no only one way, and there is no only one thing that needs to work for all. Like find things, like find support that works for you.
I love that too. And you've even shared with us that in the book, like, sure, the steps they kind of go in order. It's a process, and then you said, but if it works for you to do them in a different order, do it that way. Or
Yeah, who am I to tell?
Somebody who has studied the soul at a doctorate level and is saying, like, do what's important to you. That's information I really want to take to heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for this. This has been such an amazing conversation. I do hope that you will come back with us and share with us even more about your education and the journey and the process that it took. And, we'll say again, we'll spell the website out for people. It's KatjaRusanen.com, KatjaRusanen. I'm cheating because it's right here on Zoom. That's how you spell it. Write it down if you need to, or just go to our show notes where we're going to find the link, which is amazing. Listeners, you can find us also. We hope you connect with us on Facebook. There'll be some information there about Dr. Katja's book as well. And I invite you to use the page to give us information about things that are coming up, events and things too. And so go to facebook.com/tunein mindful radio. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts, and always check out our host station, wvlp.org. You can also go to wvlp.org/support and connect with the station there and support this grassroots radio that goes out across the international airwaves. We want to thank you again, Dr. Katja Rusanen, for being our guest, for joining us all the way from Barcelona and from being here in Northwest Indiana, our greater Chicago area in the United States, and for being on these multiple time zones. It was so fun to connect that too and figure out we're in different days of the week, but we're still in the same time. And I just think that's pretty cool for the soul also.
Thank you so much for having me as a guest. I really, truly appreciate this opportunity and would love to hear from the listeners and what was their biggest takeaway. Always love the feedback because I do hope that this gave you a spark of light and spark of hope.
Thank you so much for that. And if you love her beautiful accent, you can also find her podcast. Let's just tell people where they can get to that also.
Yes. So I have a YouTube channel. The handle is at Dr. Katja Rusanen, and my podcast is called Path to Purpose. And Kealah will be one of the guests there too. So coming up, check it out too.
Very cool. I love taking turns in the hot seat too. That's so fun also. And then we get to just know each other even better. If I were just listening to this, I would be so jealous of my job. So I'm really glad that it's my job. Thank you again so much. And I hope you do come back. And I can't wait to talk to you even further. And we will see you later, meditators.